Let's go out to Michigan, to Grand Rapids, and talk to the great and wonderful Carrie. What's up, Carrie?
Hi, Dr. John. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Of course.
How
Thanks for
are
calling.
you this morning?
I could not be better. Doing great. Doing great. So what's up?
Great. Well, so I have a situation. My husband is suffering from anxiety and depression, and it's been affecting me and our 5-year-old son. He really refuses to talk about it. He just kind of brushes off suggestions to get outside help. And I just don't know how to support him. I don't know what I can do to help. But it's gotten to the point where, I don't want to live this way any longer, especially if he's kind of shutting everything down and not wanting to address it.
My heart's broken because my wife could have been the one that made this call. I've been there on the other side of this thing, and so I get it. I also get you have to take care of yourself. And you have to take care of that little one. And it can feel like one thing I didn't get, especially initially, is that there's a lot of you looking in the mirror saying, what is it about me that isn't good enough for him to go get the help he needs? What is it about our kid that isn't a big enough deal that he's going to go get the help he needs?
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
And those questions will drag you underwater, right?
Yeah. Well, I have a little bit of background on this. I think that it started, I'm not sure, but so less than a month of us dating. We've been together about 18 years and married for 11. Less than 1 month into us dating, his mom was murdered overseas.
Wow.
And he did not take any time off work. He stayed as busy as he could. He worked overtime, tried to find projects to do around the house. We have reason to believe that his brother had something to do with that. So, of course, he's kind of lost that relationship too. But now I believe that he's still using being busy as a coping mechanism. And we feel like we're in his way. He's
constantly just on the go.
Yes.
Yeah. You may have heard me say, my buddy Ian Simpkins gave me a great line one time, said that if busyness is your drug, then rest will feel like stress.
Yes, right? That's exactly how it is.
Yeah.
I feel like, the anxiety really kicks in. Weekends are very hard for us because it throws us off our normal routine.
And it feels like you're married to my wife described it. She said it was like being married to a taser.
Yes.
It was just electric. And if I said anything, she's like, I obviously would never hit my wife. I didn't scream. I wasn't loud or anything. But she said if I said something, it just came back so electric that I just found it easier to say nothing. It was just safer to say nothing. And then he feels that disconnection, which makes him go to the only drug he knows, which is work more, which then pulls him further away, and then just getting this cycle. So let me tell you this. I'm going to tell you exactly what helped in my life. Okay, I'm going to give you the playbook that ultimately pulled me out of this mess and saved my life. And may not work for everybody. My life isn't everybody's life, but it's the best roadmap I got. Okay.
Okay.
Number one, I want to avoid the trap of saying everybody grieves in the same way. And I really fell into this early on, okay? I would tell old, grizzled ranchers, you need to spend some time crying, and that was wrong. They didn't. Their bodies metabolized trauma differently than mine did. It just did. And so there's not a right or wrong way for this to look. And so I want to move the way that he, quote unquote, should be grieving his mom, the way he should have grieved his mom. I want to move all that to the side. The second
Okay.
thing I want to move to the side is any sort of clinical diagnostics. Has he ever gone to a psychologist or medical doctor and been diagnosed as anxious and with some sort of depressive disorder or some type of anxiety disorder?
No.
Okay. I want to move all diagnostics off to the side.
Okay.
Let's move them over there. Let's stop using the words anxiety, stop using the words depression. Those are clinical terms. That's like saying you got the flu or you've got some sort of infection and you need to get antibiotics. I'm not taking antibiotics. We really don't know. So let's move those things over to the side. I want you to, so we got those over to the side. So here's what you can do. Okay. Number one, this is going to sound nuts. And I know you're going to think, all right, idiot, I've already tried this. But this isn't a one and done thing. I'm talking about this as an ethos, okay? As a way of being. And your body's alarms are going to ring off the hook. The only time I would tell you don't do this is if he is abusive, either verbally or physically, okay? Is he either of those two things?
No.
Okay, cool. I want you to create a posture of leaning towards him, not away. Okay? Here's what that looks like. When he walks in the door, everything in your body says, get out of the room. I want you to go towards him. When he's sitting down at the table, kind of like that, my wife called it the Sunday afternoon bear. There's just a bear in the living room and we just know to avoid it. I want you to go sit by him. Real close. Make him tell you to move. Because I'm telling you, he probably won't. If he does, now you have an avenue. We got to deal with some bigger issues here. Okay?
Okay.
And, okay, so we're going to lean in instead of pulling away. Number two, I want you to start calling a spade a spade. What do I mean by that? Honey, you cannot disappear when I bring our son into the house. That's different than your anxiety's driving us crazy. I want you to be very specific about the things he is doing in the house that is causing you and your son and your home to not be whole. Because when you take a doer, when you take somebody who's obsessed with, whose drug is being busy, and you say, I need these specific things, at first, those become tasks to check off. And what he'll find is, my wife leans in a lot closer when I'm helping around the house, and when I'm quiet, and when I'm exhaling. And his body, his nervous system will begin to respond before his head does. His head will be like, oh, it's so annoying. I got to do the dishes on top of everything else I'm doing. But his body will relax. Okay? Here's number three.
Okay.
I did not know this had happened, but my buddy, we had my son Hank, I think he was 2. Maybe he was 18 months old. One of my best friends on the planet, Todd, he had a little boy, and he called and he's like, hey, me and my wife are coming to bring our kid over. He lived about 3 hours away. I'd moved away after college, and we're going to bring our little boy over so our boys can meet, and you can meet my son, and I want to meet your son, all that. And I was like, that sounds great. And when he came over, I spent a couple of hours with him talking about everything. About this, and what about this, and the economy's going to do this, and my house is falling apart here, and all this. I went all in. He was my friend, and I vomited all over him. And he walked around the house with me, looked at all the problems, and I'll never forget this. We were out on my driveway, and he looked at it, and you got to picture this. I'm a wild-haired, just loudmouth, spastic guy, and I've calmed down a lot over the last decade. So I was a mess. And he's had the same haircut since he was 0 years old. He tucks his shirt in to go to bed, I think. He's just like a straight lay. He's a banker. He's just as straight as could be, okay? Everything's lined up. And he had his hands in his pockets, and he listened to me and listened to me and listened to me and listened to me. And then he finally looked at me and said, hey, your house is good. This conversation is over. We're not having it anymore. And you need to go get yourself checked out. And that was the first time in my life when he left, the first time I thought, it may be me. Because I trusted that guy. And I came to find out later, my wife had called him and said, I'm really worried about John and I don't know what to do. And he had said, I'll come down and talk to him, and he'd brought his family. I'm getting all choked up just thinking about it now. He took a day off of work and drove down to see me. And so it may be that you reach out to a friend of his, one or two of his buddies who love him. And she's since done that again. And it was really important. In fact, when I was writing this last book, she called Todd and another one of my friends, John, and they flew down to see me here in Nashville. And after that, I went and checked myself into a hotel. And then after that, I went and got with a trauma counselor and started some real healing. It was really important. But it started with my wife saying, okay, he listens to these men in his life. He needs to I'm going to reach out to them. And it wasn't a violation of my trust. It was her saying, I love you. And this guy needs some oxygen. And those guys have oxygen for my husband. And so number 3 is reach out to somebody that might be able to get through it to him in a way that you can't. Okay?
Okay.
But I want to throw away the clinical language, be very clear and specific. And ultimately, the conversation with my wife that changed my life was in our backyard in a couple of folding chairs. It wasn't any grand thing. And I said, I feel like you're creating a life without me. And she said, I have to, because you're not okay.
That's exactly what has been happening with us.
Okay.
There's so many things that I have done by myself with my son. I've had to take him out of the home, and just do things on our own. We've
Have you told your husband that?
Yes, and he knows.
Okay.
We've gone to holiday, dinners at relatives' house, and he stayed at home. We've gone to.
Have you said the words to your husband in a private conversation? I don't want to do my life alone anymore. I want you by my side.
No.
Okay.
Not exactly in those words.
Here's the deal, Carrie. You have to be that specific. And here's why I think you're crying, why it's terrifying. Because he might say no. He might say, I'm not doing it. But if you're like, hey, are you going to this dinner? Hey, do you want to come play soccer with us? Hey, do you want to go out to the market with us? He's always going to say no. That anxiety is too strong. The depression's too strong. Whatever's going on in his heart and mind is too strong. But if the woman he loves and the mother of his son sits down in front of him and says, I'm tired of doing my life by myself. I need you by my side. Whatever it takes for you to get well, I'm all in. But I'm not doing my life by myself anymore, or I'm going to do it all by myself.
Yeah, I don't want it. I don't want it to come to that.
I know, Carrie, but you're there. And here's what happens inside this house. You start creating your own life. He knows it. His body feels it, and he doesn't know what to do. And so what does he do? He just does his drugs, which is work more, which makes you have to do more of your life. And you just, all of a sudden you wake up and you're 5 years later and you're sitting on the couch next to him and you're 6 inches apart, but you're 6,000 miles away from each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I felt that before.
I know.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. You've heard me say this on the show. This is about turning all the lights on, turning the music off, and saying the life we are co-creating together ends today. Will you build something new with me? And you have to be ready for him to say, no, I won't. And hopefully, that's vulnerability, right? When you're vulnerable, like it's a cool buzzword, but you can get hurt when you're vulnerable. But I want to tell you, you're getting hurt now. You're getting hurt now. You're slowly drowning.
That's exactly what it feels like.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's not fair to our son who can absorbs everything. And
Carrie,
I don't want
Carrie, it's not fair to you either. It's not fair to your husband. It's not fair to anybody.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't just do it for your son. Do it for your husband. Do it for you. Do it for this thing called marriage, this thing y'all are building together. I strongly recommend you don't do this on the back end of a fight. Tell him, I want to have a long conversation. I always tell people, it kind of turned into a joke around here, like a meme around here, but I always tell people to go to breakfast because it's early in the morning and it's sunshine, outside sometimes. And once people get to like 9 o'clock, there's no more productive conversations happening. You can have a bunch of deep philosophical mumbo jumbo at 2 in the morning, but good deep conversations happen when everyone's brain is clear. And so I recommend get a babysitter for your son and take your husband out and say, I'm taking you out. And we have to talk about some big picture stuff. Okay. Stay on the line here. I'm going to send you I'm going to send you both books. One is Own Your Past, Change Your Future. And that is about, okay, we're in Ash. What do we do now? How do we get here? And then what do we do now? And then my newest book, Building a Non-Anxious Life. That's a book you and your husband can read together about building a completely new life. And there's some choices y'all can make every day, every week, every month about building something completely new. It will involve him getting the help he needs. But I want to tell you, as someone who's been there, it took me a year with a guy named Randy and a guy named Slade, two guys that kept showing up for me. One guy in the weight room, then we'd go to lunch. It took me that long. And then it took me getting a new job. And then it took me getting some new friends and into some confrontations before I ever went and saw a counselor. I didn't just race right into it. I didn't have that kind of courage. I didn't even know the words to say. And then I got around some more friends and some more. It was a long, long walk. But I got healthier and healthier and healthier as I went. And then I had some big blow-ups, almost blew my marriage up. Kept going, kept going, kept going. Okay, so this isn't just a one-and-done deal. This is a journey y'all are heading on. Your husband's been through hell and back, and you've been by his side every time. It's time for you to stop getting dragged behind the boat, though. Take ownership of your life, of your son, of your home. Turn the lights on. Stop the music. And let him know the life we have co-created up until now, this one's over. I want to build something new, something where we're doing this together. I hope with everything I have that you'll join me in this. I want to do this with you. Carrie, call anytime. I'll be with you every step of the way. Call anytime. Let us know how that conversation goes. We'll be rooting for you. And if he wants to call me, I'd love to talk to him. I'd love to talk to him.